To what extent is it ethical to win a Formula One championship if to achieve it you have to sacrifice your own teammate? What McLaren has done before the 2025 Abu Dhabi GP has unleashed a fire from which they may not be able to emerge unscathed. Abu Dhabi, the last stop of the 2025 championship. The Yas Marina circuit not only hosts the close of a memorable season, but has become the scene of a media storm that threatens to overshadow the legacy of one of the most beloved teams in the paddock, McLaren. The title is at stake and three names are fighting it with blood and fire. Lando Norris arrives as the championship leader with 408 points, closely followed by Max Verstappen with 396, and Oscar Piastri just 4 points further back with 392. It is the first time in more than a decade that three drivers arrive with real options to be champions in the last race. But this battle is no longer just a matter of talent on the track. It has become a game of power, internal politics, and ethically questionable decisions. Until recently, McLaren was the symbol of sporting resurgence. A team that, after years in the shadows, had regained prominence in the premier class, thanks to a sharp technical structure, intelligent decisions, and two young drivers in their prime. Everything seemed aligned to achieve the crown. But the dream has cracked after the leak of internal documents that reveal a strategic plan that, although conditional, reveals a preference that breaks with the values that McLaren has preached throughout the season. These documents detail a directive. If Max Verstappen leads in the final laps of the GP, and behind him is Oscar Piastri in third place, with Lando Norris fourth, the Australian driver must give up his position. The goal? Ensure that the title remains in the hands of Lando Norris. This revelation has fallen like a bomb. Not because of what it poses, but because of what it represents. Because although McLaren has made an effort to maintain before the press that both drivers have total freedom as long as there are mathematical possibilities for the title, the truth is that this covert strategy shows a different narrative. One in which one of the drivers has been, tacitly, demoted to the other's squire. And here we are not talking about a rookie pilot without real options. We are talking about Oscar Piastri, third in the championship, with an outstanding season, who is literally one position away from being crowned world champion if the right results occur. The debate heats up quickly. Is it legitimate to favor the driver with the most points, even by a minimal difference, and demand that his teammate sacrifice himself for the team? Where is equity, internal competition, and individual merit in a sport that is built on thousands of different and unique opportunities? Worse still, how is this tension managed within the garage itself, when trust between colleagues and between driver and team becomes a resource as important as the performance of the car? What seemed like an epic last race on pure merit between three world-class talents is now marked by a narrative of favoritism and strategic manipulation. McLaren, instead of celebrating a dream season, is in the middle of a hurricane that can leave internal wounds that are very difficult to heal. Because if Piastri ends up obeying the order, his career at McLaren will be marked by that gesture. And if he refuses, conflict will be inevitable. And in any case, the image of the British team has already been called into question. To understand why McLaren is now forced to make such delicate decisions, even questionable from an ethical point of view, we must go back to one of the most painful and determining episodes of the season, the 2025 Qatar Grand Prix. That day, more than a simple lost race, the seed of strategic chaos that now threatens to fracture the team from within was planted. What happened at the Losail circuit was not just a mistake. It was a complete collapse of logic, foresight, and technical and tactical judgment of a team that until then seemed to have everything under control. The key moment came on lap 7. An incident between Nico Hülkenberg and Pierre Gasly forced the safety car to be deployed. It was a golden opportunity. The teams could make a pit stop without paying the usual cost of losing positions. A saving of approximately 24 seconds. All the leading teams reacted as the strategy manuals dictate. They called their drivers to the pits. Everyone, except McLaren. In a decision that stunned even FIA analysts, McLaren opted to keep both of its cars on the track. Neither Norris nor Piastri were called to the pits. It was a move so disconnected from predictive models and race logic that the FIA itself, in its subsequent report, described the decision as one that challenged all standard race decision-making models. Technically speaking, there wasn't a single simulation in which staying out was beneficial. And yet, that's exactly what they did. The result was devastating. Oscar Piastri, who had been the great protagonist of the weekend with pole position and victory in the sprint race, went from controlling the race to being devoured by the rival strategy. He finished second, behind Max Verstappen, in a race he had in his hands. Lando Norris, who had also shown competitive pace, fell to fourth place. Valuable points disappeared in one afternoon. And the most serious thing, The distance between Norris and his direct rivals for the title was reduced to a minimum. The margin of error that McLaren had built with so much effort disappeared in a matter of laps. The FIA report was ruthless. McLaren received the lowest score among all front-running teams on the Strategic Decision Flow Index, a tool used internally to assess whether pit wall decisions align with baseline simulations. Furthermore, the document made clear that McLaren's assumption that other teams would also be left out was not only unfounded, but lacked any precedent at Losail. It was a bet without backing, and they paid dearly. This mistake not only cost them points, it cost them confidence. Internally, it raised doubts among engineers, strategists, and pilots. Piastri, visibly frustrated, declared that the result had been pretty painful, and that his frustration level was very high, which says a lot given the last few races I've had. His words, measured but full of disappointment, showed an emotional rift that cannot be repaired with simple promises or corporate statements. This imbalance was accentuated by rumors that have come to light in the final stretch of the season. McLaren could apply covert team orders in Abu Dhabi to secure Norris' title. Although officially the team maintains its discourse of equality, the leak of specific scenarios such as the exchange of positions if Verstappen leads, Piastri goes third and Norris fourth openly contradicts the original premise of the papaya rules. And that contradiction is more than a tactical paradox. It is a blow to the team's institutional credibility. Oscar Piastri, the young talent who came to Formula One with a perfect mix of Australian coldness and a technical precision that many compared from day one to drivers like Prost or Button, is now facing the most complex decision of his career. It is not a high-speed curve, nor a maneuver in the rain. It's a moral curve. Invisible, silent, but more dangerous than any other on the calendar. Because if the leaked strategy is executed in Abu Dhabi, and Piastri receives a direct order to cede position to Lando Norris in the final laps, his reaction will not only define the outcome of the championship, it will define his place in history. If he obeys, he consecrates the championship to his teammate, protects the team, and earns the respect of those who prioritize the flag over the family name. But he also sacrifices his moment. Your opportunity. The possibility of being crowned world champion in his second year, an achievement reserved for the giants of the sport. And once that opportunity is passed up, there is no guarantee that it will come back. On the other hand, if he refuses, if he decides that his talent, his season, his effort deserve to be defended until the last round, he will publicly challenge his team. He will break the chain of command. It will show character, yes, but it will also ignite a cold war within the McLaren pit. You will be labeled as selfish, like disobedient, as someone who doesn't understand team play. And even if you win, that victory may come at a higher cost than any trophy. This is the ethical dilemma that is rarely discussed with the seriousness it deserves. Because in Formula One, unlike other sports, the line between the individual and the collective is extremely blurred. The pilot is the star, the executor, the one who risks his life in every corner. But without the team, without the car, without the engineers who make calculations every tenth of a second, it is nothing. Therefore, each team order is a silent negotiation between two worlds, that of individual merit and that of collective strategy. And almost always, one of the two must give in. What is decided in Abu Dhabi goes beyond the result of a race. It's a message to young drivers about what the price of loyalty is, to the teams about how far they can stretch the ethical code before breaking it, to the fans what kind of championships they want to see, those won by talent and courage, or by instructions from the wall. And for Piastri, it is the most delicate moment of his short but brilliant career. Because if he gives in and Norris wins, the world will see him as a gentleman, but perhaps also as someone who did not dare to claim what was his. And if you defy the order, you will gain respect, but also enemies. And perhaps, in the process, his place at McLaren will become untenable. No decision is easy when it comes to glory. But what is clear is that Abu Dhabi 2025 will not be just a race. It will be a moral judgment, a character test. And Oscar Piastri, in the midst of it all, will have to decide if he is ready to write his name in gold ink, or let others write it for him. And so we come to the end of a story that goes far beyond a simple team order. What is at stake at Abu Dhabi 2025 is not just a world title. It is the soul of McLaren. It's the integrity of a narrative they've carefully constructed over years. It is the credibility of your values. And above all, it is the future of one of the most promising talents in modern Formula One. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.